Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. This is not a health how-to, but rather a conversation with some amazing people I've had the pleasure of being with on my journey of life. Think of it more like Tuesdays with Maury, a fireside chat, or chicken soup for the soul. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor. Jesse, thank you so much for being on Conversations with a Chiropractor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. Super excited to be on.
I know that you are like 600 episodes in, and I think this is number 31 for me. So this is old hat to you, and I'm so grateful that you're giving me this opportunity and time to interview you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and I had to start at episode 1 and 30, and so I'm honored to be on your show today.
Thank you so much. So you are not a chiropractor. You are like a health and business coach. But your first adjustment was when you were 13 years old.
Yeah, so I found out about chiropractic because in junior high football, believe it or not, I tried to jump over a kid, and my feet went out from under me, and I ended up landing straight up and down on
Wow.
my head, injuring my neck, and I ended up going to the emergency room. They thought I broke my neck. Luckily, I didn't, but one of the kind of requirements and coming out of that was going to a chiropractor, and I ended up meeting a DO at the time that did chiropractic adjustments, and it was really the only thing that made me feel better at the time.
Wow. And just for our listeners, and not to be specific, so a chiropractic adjustment is done by a chiropractor, and then osteopaths or DOs, they actually do something called like OMM or osteopathic manipulation.
Okay.
Both professions were started near the same time. And I have lots of amazing friends who are DOs, and I'm just so excited that you got to have that hands-on work,
Yeah.
after trauma.
Yeah, it had to be like late 1980s, so that had to
Yeah.
be way back. Yeah.
Yeah. My son plays football. He's actually a senior in high school this year. And I say that the only thing that the mother of a football player does during the games is pray for no injuries. So your poor mother at junior high level, that you had that injury, I'm sure that was like a horrific thing to see her son
Well,
get
my
hit.
mom was a nurse, so she was used to that. I also had an older brother. That wasn't the first and the last injury I ever got.
So 13 years old, you're getting some body work done. Do you continue to play football through like high school time?
Yeah, I ended up actually football was my sport. I ended up making all state and ended up playing some college football. And then that kind of brought me into my career, which was I started as a personal trainer back when I was probably 19 years old. That was the original thing I started and really just got into the fitness industry because I was passionate about it and started as a personal trainer and then opened up my own personal training facilities. I met my wife in the gym, and we had a rule at one of our gyms. It was either if you date any of the members, you got to marry them. And so I ended up marrying my wife, and that was kind of history. But all kidding aside, I met my wife in one of my first gyms that I worked at. And then I also would just learn the kind of the business side in the fitness industry there. And then my wife opened up our own personal training facilities. This is probably around 2007. We had those for 12 years and grew those to 2 locations, well over a multimillion-dollar business. And then I was able to sell those back in 2018. We lived in Washington State at the time and moved to Southern California. At that time, I was working for kind of a personal development company doing some coaching for them. And we were coaching all like married businessmen and really just helping them get their values and family and life and business back in order. And so I worked with a lot of men who maybe just were all business and they let their family and some other things slide. And so we really help them just get back into alignment with making their family a priority, making their marriage a priority. And then a couple of years after living here, I realized I did not like working for someone else. And so that's when I really launched. This is probably back in like 2019. I launched Habit Based Lifestyle, which is the current business I have. I launched a podcast, I wrote a book, and I just really started looking at, okay, what in my life was the thing that I was super consistent with? And if I go all the way back to athletics, I was super consistent with, the work and being an athlete and just training myself to always constantly get into this place of constant improvement. And so like personal development was something I always did, but I didn't know per se that it was a term up until like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so I always felt like growth was like a big part of my life.
And to have that kind of determination as like a high school student to be able
Yeah.
to go on to play that at the collegiate level, like you probably had that discipline very young. Would you say that was instilled in you? Would you say that was natural for you? That self-discipline, those habits?
I mean, it was a little bit of both. I didn't mention, but I did start amateur boxing at 10 years old. I had to wake up at 4:30, 5 a.m., do the Rocky workout with push-ups, sit-ups. You had to go run a couple miles and then you had to do it again after school. So I was used to training myself while other kids are out running around having fun. Here I am and say, hey, if you want to do that stuff, that's fine, but you need to train first.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing at 10 years old to have that kind of discipline, to wake
Yeah.
up early in the morning. I do think so. You were an entrepreneur with these personal training facilities, and it is interesting when you then go to work for someone else. Probably a little bit hard for any entrepreneur
Yeah.
to go and work for a boss when they're telling you this and that. But that must have been an amazing like program and ministry working with those businessmen, because I think that men or women, people can have the tendency to become workaholics, and that work life balance is so easily swayed. So
Yeah.
easy to just keep your foot on the pedal, get that gas going, and just work.
Yeah.
I
You
think,
being in the health space for 18 years, I think the health space, it's very easy to focus on helping other people so much to where our own lives can be in a big mess, right? Because we're helping so many people. They're telling us how great we are that sometimes we can forget about the most important things in our life. And really, like back in 2014, 2015, I actually had to go through the program myself because I was going to work at 5 a.m., getting home at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Well, being married and having two kids, my wife felt like a single mom, single parent. Even though I was making the money and all of that, I didn't see what she saw. So there was a bit of a disconnection there between us. And so I had to go through my own journey. And that really made me recognize number one, there's no blueprint on how to be a better husband or better wife. There's no blueprint on how to be a parent, but or at least I didn't think there was. And then as I went through this program, it really taught me some important things that your number one business is your marriage, and your number two business is your family, and then God is number one above all those things. And then your actual business where you make money is number four. And once I got those priorities straight, my gyms and the business I had at the time really accelerated and took off. And I didn't even do anything specific to the gyms that I had at the time other than just be a better husband, father, and leader. And
wow,
that's what helped grow my business the most.
that's amazing. I think that sometimes it's just so black and white in our minds, right? Put in more time and strategize and do more of this and do more of that. And that oftentimes does take us away from our families. So Like, what a
Yeah.
beautiful thing that you got to reap the reward in your business when you made your family your focus.
And that's like what nowadays is people want to grow their business, but like the biggest disconnect isn't their business. It's that their number one business at home
Mhm.
is completely disconnected and they don't see how it correlates to affecting their actual business where they're walking into making money.
Yeah.
So it's if you don't treat your marriage better than your business and the clients you work with every day, like you're not going to make the money you want. And I had a mentor tell me, he said, if you treated your wife like you treated your business, how successful would it be? And then he reversed that.
Mm.
And I'm like, shoot, I'd be bankrupt in business at this point if this was like the opposite. And so that really opened my eye to, man, I need to change some things. And so I went through my own journey and then that made me passionate about wanting to help other men. So I really took the next 3 years to work exclusively on helping other men with this program. And then again, it was just felt like outgrown that and was ready to do my own thing. And that's when I launched Habit Based Lifestyle. And then 2020 is really when I started working more with health professionals, chiropractors, functional medicine doctors, just different people in the health space. The one person I avoided was trainers, and I still avoid those as much as possible today.
Mhm.
But yeah, most of the people I work with today are chiropractors. I would say about 70 to 80%.
So, do these chiropractors come to you because they're in crisis? Do they come to you because they know that they can't keep up the pace? Do they come to you because they're having relationship issues? What would you say when they reach out to you? What is their first sort of issue or the
Well,
biggest issue?
so let's just say this. Most chiropractors and anybody will come to you if you can teach them how to make more money.
Mm.
The camouflage is typically relationship or something else happening in their life as to why they're not making the money. Let's just say this, like everybody wants to make more money, right?
Hmm.
But like really the thing behind that and maybe the reason why they're not making the money they want is because their priorities are out of order. That's not everybody, but I would say about 50-50. Most people are going to come to me in the beginning. They're going to say that they want to make more money. But what we uncover, and I'll explain, like I was the same way, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to get into the program that I did because I'm like, man, I'm going to crush it in business. And I saw these guys and I was like, ah, I need to do that. But what I realized is that was the easiest thing for me to correlate things to without actually telling people I had a marriage problem or I had a spiritual problem or whatever. So, like, making more money is really easy to say because nobody looks down on you for that. But if you were to, no one goes around saying, hey, I want to join your program because my marriage is, I'm completely disconnected with my spouse. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
so money is
absolutely.
always the safe way, or getting more clients is always the safe thing. But usually uncover there's another reason why they're not making the money they want or things like that.
So you're doing, is it like a one-on-one coaching or is it like a program that they subscribe to kind of like walk them through the steps of self-discovery?
Yeah,
Or
so a
what does
lot of
that
what
look
I
like?
teach is I teach a system. So I have a lifestyle system or I kind of have like a marketing system I teach depending on what people come in for. If they have their marriage is good and it's not really holding them back, like then we're going to just exclusively work on the marketing and business. If at some point maybe their lifestyle is the thing holding them back, then we're going to work on both. But it just depends on the person, but it is a system and it is a program. I work with them one on one. I work with them in on a group basis. So it just kind of depends on the person.
I did see somewhere when I was looking at your information online that, you're one of the very few business coaches who gives so much of this one-on-one FaceTime to your client. And I think that really says a lot because here's a funny story. So I hired a DJ for our wedding 20 some years ago. And I get to the wedding reception and it's someone else there. And I was like, where's the guy I interviewed? Like, where's the DJ that I wanted? I've heard him on the radio.
Right.
And the woman who was the DJ, lovely woman, she said, oh, there's 20 of us, but you're not going to get him. And I was under this conception that, or this misconception that I was going to be speaking to or having this person be my DJ. So I think it's brilliant and lovely that it isn't like the authenticity of you is coming through. You're not like, you don't have 20 people under you and you're going to give someone, oh, you're going to talk to Joey and you're going to talk to like Samantha but like that you are the coach. Like that is in this day and age pretty spectacular. Like something to be really applauded.
Yeah, I guess there's two sides to that, right? There's the one side, I love coaching and I love helping people. I love getting to know my clients, their stories, the things that hold them back, the limiting beliefs, all those things, and really helping them break through. I think the other side of it too, though, is it's not a super scalable model. And you have to figure out what is your sweet spot in that. I do have other people that work for me. I do have other coaches. They are running the system. I try to be a part of the program and the clients' lives as much as possible so that they know that, yeah, when you sign up with me, you do get to see me. You do get to be actively involved with me. You're not just someone who signs up and then all of a sudden you're passed off to somebody else.
Mm, that's wonderful. I want to give you a little bit of a plug here. How do people find you? Um, Social media, you've got a Facebook, Instagram, just Jesse, and I don't know how to pronounce your last name,
Yeah,
Ewell.
my last name's Ewell, like you will, but you just say it faster, Ewell. And I'm on Facebook, obviously, Jesse, Jesse, last name Ewell. My Instagram is Jesse, Jesse.Ewell. That's typically the easiest way to find me. You could come out to California. That's another easy way to find me. But
Do
um,
you do in person like groups and stuff, like retreats or things like
yeah, every once in a while, about once a quarter, I'll do a business boot camp or an event, goal setting, whatever. So it just depends on what I feel like going. But yeah, we do some in-person stuff as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, here's a little story about me. So, at one point in my chiropractic career, I had 3 offices and I had 4 chiropractors and many other folks. And I wanted to scale it down. I was like my kids are growing up and I felt like I was scattered and working on schedules and not patient care. I went down to having just the one office. This is the interesting thing. This is the scalability that people will see me when they come in to get adjusted, but I'm only one human and there's
Right.
only so many hours in the day. And I'm sure like if you and I did a deep dive, if I hired you, you would right off the bat find many things, but this is the challenge, right? The challenge
Yeah.
of time and just being the one person. Yeah.
So here's what I would say. Chiropractic is not a very scalable model because you either adjust more people or you hire an associate. One is a recipe to burn yourself out, which most chiropractors do at least once. And then they realize, hey, maybe that's not the way I want to do it. The other is you hire an associate. The problem with the associate is the average associate will stay with the chiropractor for 6 to 18 months and then they're out and you got to go through that again. So so the only other way to really make your business, this isn't for everybody, because you need to have some type of niche service that complements your office. Now, whether that's pain or whether that's weight loss, I truly believe that if a chiropractor really wants freedom, like they need to have one of those two things in their office or some type of niche service so they can go on vacation, they can make money or some type of virtual model because the model of chiropractic is a tough model to make scalable because you guys are experts at what you do. You can't just get any random person to come in and do it. So that's what I've
I
found.
I
you know?
appreciate that you, as a non chiropractor, can know our profession so well. It actually gives me a lot of, I don't know, like feelings of, yeah, he gets this. Like he gets our struggle. And it is tricky. I hired an associate years ago, and my family and I, we went on vacation, and I came back to some unsatisfied customers. And it's like that tricky, that giving up that control. And I actually do co-own a med spa. And
Okay.
interestingly enough, we have some Erconia lasers, some amazing body contouring lasers. Now, tell me a little bit about your VIP weight loss system.
Yeah.
What does that entail?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So this is a program that I launched with a couple clients of or they were clients at the time. Now they're my business partners, but one of them is a chiropractor. His wife is a registered dietitian. She came to me 3 years ago, stuck in the one-on-one model of being a registered dietitian. And basically, I worked with her on how to take her one on one model. We made it scalable and virtual. So she got out of the kind of one on one service and she went from making about four to $6,000 a month to making like 35 to 40K a month in a matter of about 6 months. And then her husband was like, what the heck are you doing? So then he started working with me. And she came to me and she said, hey, I really want to. She had a healthy healing, helped women with menopause, perimenopause, PCOS, just a lot of these kind of issues that women had in middle age. And she said, hey, do you think I could go down the medical weight loss route? And I said, yeah, because she'd saw some people I was working with. And I said, as long as you make it about the nutrition plan and the habits and really like coach and help people, I think it would be huge. But I think if you're going to make it about the peptides and stuff like that, I said I would advise you not to do it. And
Mm.
so she basically took her program, added the peptides with it, and then they like tripled their revenue in a matter of about 9 months. And so her husband, who was a chiropractor, was like, all right, I'm all in, join forces. But as they were going through that, they had a medical provider. Their medical provider was basically like they were out before they even started. So I helped them find a medical provider and just help them find the pieces. Well, they started doing amazing with that business. But the thing that they got approached and had somebody ask them, hey, would you show us how to do what you're doing?
Mhm.
And basically, we were like, let's join forces, let's create a business model. And so I brought in like my side, the sales, the marketing, the habits. She's got the nutrition side, and then her husband manages the legal and medical. And so it's like a business in a box that can attach on to a chiropractic clinic. If you already have maybe a med spa, but maybe you don't offer this and you need a medical provider, like all that stuff's already covered. And what we found is a lot of people were paying anywhere from 40, 60, $80,000 just to have a medical provider, legal, licensing structure. And we provide all of that in our program. You as the doctor, you don't even have to worry about it.
Wonderful. That's so cool. Jesse, would you say that your two main businesses are the habits, the habit-based lifestyle, and the VIP weight loss system? Are those like your main two businesses that you help people with?
Yeah, mostly the habit-based lifestyle is the business stuff that we do. And that same business model and the things that I do in there are the similar stuff to what I do in the VIP weight loss system. Just the difference is it's very structured for the VIP weight loss system. So all the marketing and sales system and business stuff is all focused on that, but it's very similar. Yeah.
Very cool. Would you give, like, what if you were talking to a chiropractor and they were like, I'm feeling burned out? Like, how do you have any advice on how they would find an associate? Are there any groups of people or groups that you have found that are connecting people in this realm?
Yeah, so here's what I would say. Most of the time, burnout comes from you not living your purpose, not from not having an associate. Okay. So, like, you need to get clear on the type of like office that you want first. What I find is most people only want an associate because they feel like that's only one of two ways to grow their chiropractic clinic. We already know what happens with the other one. So, what I would say to that is, what if you could grow? Here's the way I think about it. An associate, you have to pay them 5 to 8K a month, depending on where you're at, maybe more. Or you could bring in a niche service like weight loss, make an extra 20, 30, 40K a month. We do have some of our clients doing 50, 60K and upwards per month. And it's a completely different business model than you already have. And it can be staff driven. So it's not like you have to adjust people. So to me, that's way better than associate because one, you're not paying for the associate. Two is it's a different business model than what you're currently doing. And it's going to give you a lot more freedom and allow you to go on vacation. To me, adding a niche service makes way more sense than you hiring an associate unless you just don't want to adjust people anymore. Then obviously you have colleges and things like that. But to me, I would rather go to a college and find somebody, train them the way I want them, or I would find someone who's already had a clinic. Maybe they were like, hey, I don't like doing this. I just want to adjust. And I would hire one of those two people. But let me say this because I used to do this in the training space all the time. I had hundreds of trainers that work for me, and most chiropractors get frustrated because their associates don't bring in clients. But if you're truly hiring an associate, that associate should be focused on taking care of clients, not getting their own business. You, as the business owner, should be the one that's responsible for finding them clients. Because let's face it, if they could get their own clients, they just go open up down the street and they wouldn't need you. And so
Absolutely.
that would probably be a better message for chiropractors than me telling them what company to hire an associate from.
Yeah. Jesse, I know that your time is precious, and I would love to just end this with if you could give some advice to a health professional, and I think maybe you've already done this, you've already given this advice. Looking to build a thriving business in today's like digital landscape. I think you've already answered that. Like adding something like that was a niche, like add-on service is really what you recommend, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you another piece because this is the thing all health professionals struggle with 95%. Okay. Is you guys invest a ton of money. I invested a ton of money into my education. But here's what I'll say is that education's only as good as the marketing and sales that goes with it. And so, just realize this that it doesn't matter how good of a chiropractor you are or health professional you are if nobody knows about you. And so invest heavily into learning the skill of marketing and the skill of sales, and you'll never have to worry about being broke again. And really, I think that's for any business owner, even at health professionals, yes, because that's what we work with. But I think those are two things that any business owner could take with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if my listeners are just regular folks off the street who have been listening to some of these stories, this might be a trickier question, but what one piece of marriage advice would you give to someone?
I'll do two things. So, one is sending your spouse some type of message, or if you guys have ever read the five love languages,
Mhm.
there's touch, talk, there's five things,
Yeah,
right?
acts of service.
Acts of service, words of affirmation. So whatever your spouses were, one of those five things, make sure you do that daily. So if it was acts of service, you want to make sure you maybe help with dishes or help with laundry or something around the house. If it's words of affirmation, make sure you affirm your spouse verbally every day. The other thing is to make sure you go on a date night every week with your spouse. And some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. But like you could literally go on a date to the grocery store. You could go on a date to take a walk. That's free. There's a million different ways to do that. But like those two things changed my marriage the most. It's just, they're simple. So most people overlook them and they're like, no, okay, give me the rest. So
Right. Yeah, they are simple, but it is all of your message. What is the habit, right? And
yeah.
I really love that 5 love languages book because I'm going to tell you this funny story. My husband and I have birthdays 2 weeks apart. When
Oh,
we were
wow.
first married, we were like, you know what? We're really broke and we don't need to purchase each other presents and like no presents this year. So my birthday is first. So my husband didn't get me anything and I was really totally cool with that because ironically receiving gifts is not my love language at all. Like
Okay.
acts of service. Take my car, put gas in it. That's how I like receive love. So 2 weeks later, it's my husband's birthday, and I didn't get him anything. And he was like, no, really, like, where's my present? Like, you always buy me presents. Where's my present? And I was like, honey, we agreed, like, we weren't going to give each other presents. And he was so upset that I didn't get him a present. And so from that moment on, it solidified how important those 5 love languages are and knowing what your partner wants. My husband does like to receive gifts, and I want him to just take my car and get the oil changed or do
Yeah.
something like that. So I think that's really great advice, super great advice. Hard to do the date night every week with busy kids and
Sure.
my kids are in high school and sporting events and my daughter's a musician and but maybe even carving out like an hour. Like maybe it doesn't have to be the entire Friday night, but just having that one-on-one time. That's really great advice.
I think the date night thing. So here's the thing is, yeah, we have kids, we have all these things, but what's harder, going on a date night every week or being disconnected every month? Because
Yeah.
so it's, you want to model one to your kids for you and your husband. You want a model of what a healthy marriage looks like. You know, what you quantify as a date night, it could be meeting for lunch, having coffee. It could be really any of those things, but like it needs to be a priority every week because you guys are the priority. And if you guys are disconnected, business is affected, your relationship with your kids. So really, we'll go to church once a week because it's important. We'll do date night maybe like once a month, or maybe you do it on Valentine's Day and that's it. But you really have to prioritize those things if you want them to be successful and have a healthy marriage. And that's really what it's about. But as well as I do, it's not just going to church on Sunday. It's what are you doing the other 6 days a week? That's why I love these kind of custom messages or custom conversations, is because it's not just the date night. It's what are you doing the other 6 days a week to connect with your spouse?
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse, I am just so honored that you took this time out of your very busy schedule to talk to me and to be a guest on Conversations with a Chiropractor. And I'm excited to see how our paths cross again.
All right. Thank you so much for just allowing me to be on here and spread the message of marriage and money and marketing and everything else. So
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your words of wisdom.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, like, or subscribe? You can find me on social media at wautierwellness.com, Dr. Stephanie Wautier on Instagram, or Wautier Wellness Chiropractic and Massage on Facebook. And I'm so curious where your next conversation will take you.